All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Lugnuts Garage. Today we have this 2012 Yamaha FJR we're going to be doing a spark plug change on, as well as an oil and filter change. The first thing I'd like to show you guys getting started on, in case you have trouble finding it, is where to remove the rear seat so you can get to the front seat for removal as well. If you look right here above the passenger foot peg, there's a keyhole. Use your key, twist, and the seat will pop off. I don't have it in all the way. There we go. And your passenger seat will pop off. All right, once we have our passenger seat able to be removed, pick it up, set it off to the side. And if you look right down in here underneath this, pretty much the center of the driver's seat, there's a little lever in there. You're gonna reach your fingers down in there, pull that lever towards the left side of the bike, like so, and lift off the driver's seat. Set it off to the side as well. All right, now that we've got our seats removed, we got to take off this trim panel at the base of the tank here. If you look on either side, there is a 5mm hex bolt, one on both sides, and these plastic quarter turn screws. They do take a Phillips head. It's like a pop out. You pop them out and comes off. Then at the base of the tank, there's a 12mm bolt, or you'll need a 12mm on both sides. It's a bolt with a nut on the other side, so you'll have to get to that. Then up here at the top of the tank, you have two bolts that take 5mm hex key as well. I use one that's a ball end so that I can get in there. You do need the handlebar straight for this, so we're going to go ahead and get the tank removed. All right, so I want to show you this up close. This is that little Phillips head quarter turn screw I was talking about. It's like another pop-out trim panel screw. If you take your screwdriver, put it in there, and turn it just a quarter turn, you'll see it pop out a little bit. And then you grab it and pull, and the whole thing will come out as one little clip. All right, so now we have our seat and our tank removed. A couple things I want to show you is right down in here is where the drain tube from the tank goes. It just slides right down in there. You pull it out, and the tank will come off when you pull it up. These two clips need to be undone. They are plastic. Be careful undoing them. Sometimes they're a little tough to unhook. One's for the fuel pump, one's for the fuel gauge. But you will need to unhook those. There's only so much slack there. Then if you look here at the fuel line, be very careful with this as well. If you look at, there's a gray button right here, one on the other side. You push both of those in and pull, and it'll slide right off the fuel pump hookup. All right, so next what we got to do is remove this T-bar you see here in the middle. These three bolts are 14mm. You'll need a socket, ratchet, or a wrench to get those out. This group of wires you see here in the top right, you're not going to have on your bike unless you installed something the customer has that hooked to their phones. We're just going to move that out of the way for now to be able to get access. So we can remove these bolts, remove that T-bar, allow us to remove that heat shield, and we'll have access to our spark plugs. All right, we're back now, and I apologize for the last couple sections of the video. It looked like my microphone died, and I didn't even know. So we got the T-bar removed. Those were 14mm bolts. I forgot to tell you that on the last section. We also got the insulation, the heat shield out. There's one of those quarter turn plastic Phillips heads right here. Turn that, pull it out, and then I've just leaned this back instead of pulling the wires out. All we need is access to here. All right, now if you look here, there's 4 spark plugs, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can get to the boots and should be able to get down into the spark plugs with extensions without having to remove all these hoses. We're not taking all that out, we're just doing the spark plugs. So we're going to start removing these boots one by one. Pull that out. All right, so now that we have our everything accessed, our spark plug wires removed, it's time to pull the spark plugs out. You will need a 5/8 inch spark plug socket with a long extension. Okay, drop that right down in the hole there. And you can see that it locks onto the spark plug. And the reason you want to use a spark plug socket on these, on the inside, they have the O-rings that grab onto the plug. So as you get it loose, it'll come out with the socket. You don't have to try and get pliers or something else down in there to get the spark plugs out. All right, guys, we're back with a quick pro tip here. So I've got most of these loose. I haven't gotten this one yet, so I wanted to stop and show you guys. You never want to pull on a spark plug wire, okay? So don't grab the wire and pull up trying to dislodge these. It can actually pull the wire out of the connector in here, and then you won't have a spark plug with its fire, and so then you don't have a cylinder that's working. So what I do is I use a pair of pliers. I usually have a long set. I have a straight and a curved set of needle nose. All right, and I just get in here like so, just to break it loose, grabbing the boot with the pliers, not the wire, and then you can pull it out. All right, guys, I've gone ahead and changed 3 of the 4 spark plugs. I've saved the last one to show you a few things. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. And a couple things I want to show you. A lot of people don't remember to do this, but it is necessary to make sure your engine runs and runs at its peak performance. You want to make sure you're gapping your spark plug. So the spark plug gap for this motorcycle is 0.031 inches. Okay, there is a millimeter conversion. I don't know it off the top of my head, but you're going to need a feeler gauge. I like to use this style. They do sell the round ones, like you can get at AutoZone, O'Reilly, whatever auto parts store. But I prefer the blade ones because you can pull out the one you need and use that. I don't know if you can see. There we go. The backdrop's kind of a bad. So you can pull out the blade that you need. Now this one does not have a 0.031, but it does have a 030 and a 032. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure the 030 fits and the 032 does not. And then we know that we're at 031. Okay. So it doesn't take much. All right. So what we're going to do is you're checking the gap between the electrodes here. All right. The electrode and the grounding prong. So we're going to take our 030 and it slides right through. Okay. And now we're going to take our 032 and we're going to put that one in and it barely fits. All right. So we're going to close this just a little bit. All right. And it doesn't take much. So you just want to put it on the end and tap it. All right, now our 032 does not fit, our 030 does, so we know we're at 031. All right, another thing that'll help next time you go change out your spark plugs is put some anti-seize compound on it. If you're buying spark plugs, you can get just a little packet. You don't need a big bottle like this. You can get just a little packet from the auto parts store. But you want to put just a little bit of anti-seize on there before you put it in. Oh, wait, before we do that, almost forgot. So a lot of your motorcycle plug wires have the small connections in there, and your spark plugs come with these caps on the back. All right. So for this bike, we're going to have to remove that. Just get you a pair of pliers, twist it loose, and that cap actually screws off of the spark plug. So right now they look like that. All right. So you're going to screw it off, and now you can see it's much smaller and threaded. All right. So now we're going to put our anti-seize on here. You want just a little bit. You don't need a whole lot. And you definitely want to make sure that you only get it on the threads. You don't want to get it up on the electrode. That's way too much. I need to brush some of that off. Just a real thin coat of anti-seize on there. And that just helps make sure that when you go to change them again, that it comes out nice and easy. They don't rust in there or get, corroded, stuck. All right. So now we put our spark plug down in there. Take our socket. We screw it in. It's much easier to do this with fingers because it's faster than just using the ratchet until you get all the way tight. Then you use your ratchet to finish it up. All right. So now we connect our ratchet. We want to tighten that spark plug up. We're crushing the gasket on there right now. Okay, it has stopped. They don't need to be super tight. You don't need superhuman strength to tighten those up, just like the oil filter. Now we're going to put our plug wire back down in there. Now when you connect these wires to the spark plug, you want to make sure you listen for the audible click or the in this case, it'll be kind of a zip. It'll almost sound like a zipper because it's a little piece of wire going across threads. You want to make sure you hear that so that you know your plug wire is connected all the way. So when you push it down in there, you listen for that zip sound, you know your plug wire is connected all the way. All right, so everything we have here now is done. We can go ahead and put our heat shield back on. And it just slides up in here like so. These little plastic pieces tucked down under the corners. All right, just like that. Now we're going to take, oh, that piece goes under that, like so. All right, now we're going to take our little quarter turn Phillips head that we removed a little while ago. And we're going to push it down in that hole, click it so that it stays in place. Finish tucking this up in there nice and neat so that everything is tucked in. There we go. All right. Now we need to put our T-bar back on. The T-bar slides in, the top goes on top, the sides go underneath these brackets. All right, so you're actually going to push down on it a little bit, slide that up underneath, and then up here goes on top. Then we're going to take our three 14-millimeter bolts. Just start each one of these till we get it in. And the reason you want them still loose and you want to start all of them, if you get them tight, one of the holes may not be lined up correctly, and you'll have a heck of a time getting that bolt lined up and started into the hole correctly without cross-threading it and damaging the bolt and or the threads. All right, so now we've got those in. We're going to change back out for our 14-millimeter socket. We're going to tighten these up. All right, and we're ready to put our tank back on. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the oil change now. Yamaha really thought about this bike and put everything easily accessible and then kind of in the same location. So you got your oil fill cap up here, your filters right here, and your drain plug is right down here, pretty much underneath the foot peg. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about there. So there's your oil drain plug. So if you come right underneath the Yamaha where the foot peg is, follow that up under there, and there's your 17-millimeter drain plug. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and crack the oil cap loose. All right, you can remove it all the way, clean it off, and set it off to the side. Just make sure you don't get anything down in there. So we're going to set that off to the side, and the reason we break that loose is because once we open our drain plug, we want the oil to drain out. And if you have that on there, it creates a vacuum inside, and it doesn't drain out quite as fast. So next we need our 17-millimeter wrench. We're going to find our drain plug down here. We're going to crack it loose. All right, now with it cracked loose, what we're going to want to do is move the fairing out of the way, just this little corner piece here. So a 4-millimeter Allen key. All right, now take your rag and kind of stuff behind here to keep it out of the way. And then what you can do is take a plastic bag or something, tin foil, whatever you feel like using, and just wrap it over the fairing just to keep, when you pull the filter off, it's going to drip oil, and it'll help keep that from getting all over the fairing and getting dirty. All right, so let me see if I can move this bag a little bit so you guys can see. So now I'm going to reach back up under here where I loosened my drain plug. We got to loosen it just a little more. All right, now that it's finger loose, we can loosen it up and let our oil drain out. Now you want to run the bike for a few minutes, about 5 minutes or so, prior to doing this, so that the oil is nice and thin. See if we can, you guys can see the oil running out now down there. Again, you want to run the bike for about 5 minutes or so the oil's nice and thin, runs out easier, and just kind of make sure we get most of it out as we go through this. So while that's draining, and you want to give it some good time, again, make sure it all comes out. This holds a little over 4 quarts of oil, so you got a pretty good amount that's going to come out. While that's draining, we go ahead and get our oil filter out. Unfortunately, I don't have a filter wrench that fits this particular filter, so I have to use these pliers, oil filter pliers, which I don't like to do. And this is why we're tearing that filter up. I'm going to get that filter off and we'll be right back. All right, so I finally got the filter loose with the pliers. Somebody had wrenched that on there real tight. Oil filters don't have to go on that tight, okay? A lot of times you can see the oil running out already. A lot of times the instructions on the filter or in your service manual will tell you, get it finger tight and then a quarter or a half turn is generally the rule of thumb. Sometimes they'll have a torque to it, but it's never really that tight. So a lot of times people will wrench them on there, and then as they sit, you run the bike, it gets hot and all that. Obviously, they get stuck. But the problem is, and I don't want to pull this out of the drip pan while everything's still draining, but if you can see that, we've got damage now, and sometimes you can poke a hole and you leak oil everywhere. All right, and we're back. We've let this drain. I can see it's just barely dripping underneath from the drain plug anymore. So we're going to start putting this stuff back together. The first thing I always do, just to make sure I don't forget, is I always do the drain plug first. So we'll take this off, or take our drain plug, clean it off with a rag real good. And we'll tighten it once we get it back in there. Actually torque it and everything to the correct torque specs. There we go. You gotta get it lined up with the hole. Make sure you don't cross thread it. You shouldn't have to force this in at all. It should pretty much tighten all the way up with your fingers until you get ready to actually tighten it and torque it. If you have to force it in, you're probably cross threaded. So back it out very carefully. Try again, straighten it up. You definitely don't want to cross thread those. All right, we're going to take our new filter now, and you can use the old oil. A lot of people will swear that you need to use new, fresh oil. It doesn't really make a difference because it's not going in the filter, it's going on the O-ring. So we want to clean up around our filter area, get all the drained oil or the dribbled oil off. Just take you a little bit of oil on your fingertip, and you want to make sure you rub the O-ring on the new filter with oil before you put it on. Okay, then we're going to screw this on. Until it's finger tight, which is about there. And then go another half turn. And now you can remove your plastic, clean up any spilled oil. We're just going to throw this down in our oil bin. We'll clean that up as we go. Remove our rag out of here, and we can start putting everything back together and doing the torque. So let's slide that out of the way. We get our Allen key with the bolt for the fairing. All right, now the fairing bolts are only holding the plastic fairing on, so they don't need to be super tight. Snug them up. Okay, then we take our rag, clean off any oil we did spill. We did manage to get a little bit back there. All right. Now we're going to get this snug. We're not going to tighten yet, just snug it so it doesn't leak oil on the floor. And then we'll get the torque value, torque that up before we add oil in. All right, so our torque value for the oil drain plug is 16 to 17 foot-pounds. There is some other information that recommends a little bit lower torque to keep from damaging the aluminum. But you always want to follow what your service manual says. So we're going to go ahead and set it to the lower torque of 16 foot-pounds. All right, so we're at, there's 15, 16. All right, tighten that up, get our 17 millimeter socket. And then slowly, you don't want to do this part fast because you want to feel and hear the click. There we go. All right, so our oil drain plug is now torqued. And we can get a funnel and start adding oil. All right, excuse me. I know this funnel is a little overkill, but it is the closest one that I could find that was clean for right now. I have to do some cleaning on my other ones. So again, this does hold a little over 4 quarts of oil. I think the manual specifies approximately 4.23 with a filter change. So what we want to do is go ahead and just add 4 quarts and stop there. And then we'll start the bike and let it run for a little while. Get that oil all circulated through the engine, get it circulated into the filter, and then we'll check our level and see how much more we need to add. You don't want to overfill an oil system. Overfilling is just as bad as not having enough oil because it can actually pressurize the engine and cause some internal damage, blow it out of different seals and stuff, and you can cause damage by overfilling. So we're going to go ahead and add our 4 quarts of oil, stop there, and then once we get the bike all back together, we'll start it up outside, let it run for a little bit, and finish topping off where we need to. All right, so we have our tank in place now. All right, it's still loose because I wanted to show you guys underneath what I was talking about earlier. So if you lift this up and you look right here, that plastic line right there, that's where the fuel line hooks in, okay? And we did a boo-boo and buried our fuel line, so we're gonna have to pull it out. There we go, from right there. Now tuck that back down in there. All right, so here's your fuel line. All right, and remember I talked about these 2 gray buttons to release it. All right, so again, it's a quick disconnect. Push it on there, make sure it's straight, and it'll click in place. All right, don't push too hard. It is all plastic. You can break it very easily. All right, now we're going to plug our 2 electrical connectors back in. put our tank down in place. All right, we've already run our drain line over here on the other side. Let me move the camera here. So we've already run our drain line. All right, so next we have these two bolts that we got to put back in up here. Again, they were a 5mm Allen key. And then you have your long bolt back here that was a 12mm on both sides. So I'm going to start with the rear one. Take our long bolt. You might have to lift and wiggle the tank a little bit to get the holes to line up perfectly. There we go. All right, we got our rear bolt on. Now we're going to take our two front bolts, and be careful with these when you take them out. All right, don't do like I did. I actually dropped it down into the cowling and had to fish it out with a pair of needle nose. Luckily, it was still up high. I didn't have to take off a whole bunch of cowling to get to it, or fairings. So now we're going to carefully line these up. And in order to do all of this, you do need to have the handlebars straight so that you can reach in there and get the tank up and out. And I just dropped one, so I'm going to have to pull the tank up. All right, so luckily that one didn't fall down, again, very far. It just fell on top of that heat shield that's in there, that insulation. So luckily this bike still has that. Some bikes you come across won't have it. Yours may or may not. If you've removed it, it won't be there, obviously. So now I was able to get these screws started. What I ended up doing was loosening the rear tank bolt. I didn't take it out, I just loosened it so I get a little more motion in the tank. Just like I talked about earlier, waiting until the end till you tighten everything up. So now I've got those two bolts in. And now everything is in, so we're going to go ahead and tighten these. And then we can move to our rear ones, tighten that back up. There we go. All right, and then we put our seats on, and we're finished up. Oh, nope. All right, now we got to put this cover back on. So if you look on the inside, there's these slots, go right here on these metal tabs, and then these just push into a hole right there. There's one on either side. So you want to line it up, push those metal tabs into the slots, line up the front, push it in. Then we can take our remaining hardware here. Again, these are those quarter turn Phillips heads. They go right here. Push to lock. Put this one back together. Push that into the hole. Try not to break any of the tabs off. Push to lock. Then we get out our 4mm. There it is. We get out our 4mm Allen key. And we put these screws back in. Now again, these are just plastic body fairing screws, so they don't have to be tight. We just snug them up so they don't back out while we're riding. All right, now we take our driver's seat. Our little tab slides into that hook right there. Push down and it clicks into place. And we've got our passenger seat. Slide the rear end first. There's clips back here. They slide in up under these two clips. So we're going to slide our seat in, click it down into place, and we are ready to go test ride this bike.